Welcome to Sew with Mrs. Herbert. In this episode, we'll be constructing the ties, inserting them into the casing of the apron, and then the project will be complete. So let's get started. My enlargement of the pattern guide sheet is pretty fuzzy, so let me explain what you're seeing. It says constructing the ties. This is step 7. Stitch tie 12 sections together at notched end. Here's my piece 12. And here's my notch. And there it is. So I will put right sides together, stitch this seam, and then it says with right sides together, fold tie along fold line, stitch in 3/8 seam, leaving an opening for turning as shown. Now I like to leave my opening. I'm going to show you on this picture and then I'll show you on my apron. But I like to leave the opening in a section of the tie that actually will be enclosed within the casing. This is my sample extra small size of the apron. And so if I leave the opening so that it's going to be encased within this casing, then I can top stitch my closing place. But if it's near the center, then the opening would be here, and I need to hand stitch it closed so that it looks professional. So again, if I leave the opening more to the side, I'm able to close it later with a sewing machine. So a couple of tips. So let's go back. I'll sew a 5/8 inch seam, and then I'll fold it in half. You see in this picture how long it is. We'll have right sides together, and I'll stitch a 3/8 inch seam. Let's do that. Right now, right sides are out, so I need to switch them so that right sides are together. I need to put my regular foot on. I had my 1/4 inch foot. So here we go. My thread's under the presser foot. I will backstitch. I'm putting my fabric, my 5/8. Go ahead and put tape there if you need to. Now as I look at this, I don't see it saying to press this open, but the picture shows that it is. So when I press this, fold this in half, I'm actually going to take this seam and have it open. So now when I fold it, I'll put those seams together. One comment here, I could have trimmed this 5/8 down to a 1/4, but this will be fine. So now I'm going to check where I'll leave my opening. So my neck part will be here. So I'm going to put 2 pins right here to let me know that I want to stop and leave it open. Okay, it said 3/8 of an inch, and I'm looking at the 3/8 on my throat plate, and it actually lines up very, very close to the edge of my presser foot. I'm going to reverse. So I reverse right off the edge, which is a fold. And I wanted to pivot. I went about a stitch too far. I'm going to go ahead and turn, line it up. Just going to reverse right there to keep it secure. And now I'll sew all the way down to my double pins. My cutting wasn't very straight right there. Okay, here's my double pins. I'm going to stop a little ahead of that and backstitch. Remove those. And then I'm going to move ahead about 2 to 3 inches. Backstitch. I am going to backstitch just a stitch or 2. And now continue. Stitch over the fold. 1 stitch and then backstitch. I'm going to cut this corner at an angle. Going to do the same thing here. That will help it lie flat when we turn it. And again, it's a step that they left out, that they shouldn't have, in my opinion. Okay, we just finished this, leaving an opening for turning as shown. And our opening, you saw where I left a space. So now let me move up my directions. It says turn right side out, press, sew opening closed. Well, in order to turn this right side out, I'm going to use my little pointer. So you want something with a dull end. You'll start at one end. It's closed, right? We've sewed it closed. But you pull it open from the sides because it's folded in half. Push it in a little bit. Can you see my thumb is in there? Now I can put my stick. Sometimes I use a pencil, but I use the eraser end inside to help turn it. I never use a pointed pencil or anything pointed. It would make a hole at the end. So you see how I just slide this on, and I can slide it further. And I'm going to continue to slide until I find my opening, which is right there. And so before I go any further, I'm going to clip those threads there. But that's where I'm going, is right there. So there's my opening. So I turn it out. I can pull my stick out. So now I have one side of my tie turned right side out. Now I do the same thing with the other side. And to the opening, hook that through. All right, now that it's turned, let's find out or double check the instructions. Turn right side out. We did that. Press. Sew, opening, closed. So we're going to press it with the seam on the edge and then the fold, so it's exactly folded in half. And then we'll come back to the machine and I'll stitch this little opening closed by machine. See you at the iron. I want the ends of my ties to be square, so I'm going to use a straight pin and pull those corners out. Very carefully, being sure not to accidentally pull some threads that would make it actually become unsewn in the corner. If you pull too hard, that's what could happen. So just be very gentle. See how much better that looks? And then after I press it, it'll be flat. Okay, I'll use my fingers to roll the seam to the edge. And then press. I'll see how much nicer that end looks. I'll continue to roll this all the way to the end. Now it's quite long, as you know. We'll make sure when we get to the part that has an opening that the seam allowances are turned in. That's where my opening is. You can barely tell. We're halfway. So I'll find my opening and I'll meet you at the sewing machine. So once again, it says sew, opening, closed. because we did our opening a little further from the center, our opening will be hitting with inside the casing, so we can go ahead and sew it closed by machine. If you had it closer to the neck, you'll need to sew it by hand. So my opening is right here. I'm going to get very close to the edge. Back stitch. Put my threads very close. Let's read the next step. Insert ties through casings, extending ends evenly at sides. So I usually keep a large safety pin and medium size right in my pin box for times like this. So I'm going to use the large safety pin and take one end of my tie. I'm not going to just go like this. That'll put so much pressure on the end of it, but I'm going to take a pinch of it. Close my safety pin. And then, just like the picture shows, from the outside, go up one facing casing, make a neck loop, and then continue around, and then even out the ends. So let's do that. It's kind of exciting. We're just about finished with our apron. So when I do this, I'm pushing the fabric over the pin. I continue to do that and then slide this. I'm going to pull it out quite a bit. Need to leave enough for a tie on one side. So I'm just guesstimating. Now I'll go through. See my apron? Here's the top. So I just came out one side. Now I'm going to go down the other side. I'm going to compare these ends, and actually I can take the safety pin off now. Put it back in my pin box. Trying to show you within the camera view. I have these even, and that looks right. When I put this apron on, I can snug it up closer around my neck, but just snug it up evenly on both sides. And isn't that fun? This apron is complete. If you've been following me since episode 1, you've now completed a pair of pants that had a casing with elastic in it, as well as a 1-inch hem, the apron with patch pockets, and a facing turned into a casing. Our next project will be a skirt that has a facing, darts, and a 7-inch zipper. So in our next episode, we'll begin looking in a pattern book for proper choices for our project 3.